Prairie Mosaic is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4, 2008, the North Dakota Council on the Arts, and by the members of Prairie Public.
Welcome to Prairie Mosaic, a patchwork of stories about the arts, culture, and history in our region.
Hi, I'm Barb Gravel.
And I'm Bob Danback. On this edition, we'll learn about the history of a city known for its steel production. Meet an artist and professor who touched many lives, and listen to a Métis-influenced fiddle band. Today, we can arrange travel anywhere around the world with a few clicks of a mouse. But in 1859, the journey for two sisters traveling from their homes in Scotland along the Red River to the Canadian frontier was fraught with uncertainty and historic importance.
Traditionally, the highest form of painting is the history painting, like Jacques-Louis David painted in the Napoleonic era, the Roman Empire. We here in the Red River Valley, we have an epic history of our own too. We just don't usually brag about it. This painting is a collaboration between two of the best local historians in Red River Valley history, Orabel Thortvedt and Fargo Forum newspaperman Roy Johnson. The two of them did mountains of research on this story and on Fort Abercrombie. I think there's 40 pages of research devoted to Fort Abercrombie and Orabel Thortvedt's notebooks that we have at the museum here. And both of them used every source they could find about Fort Abercrombie to make this the most accurate painting. This is one of our best local history stories from really the founding of settlement in the Red River Valley. It's when the first stagecoach in 1859 comes to meet the first steamboat on the Red River. This was what was finally going to link St. Paul with Fort Garry, today what we call Winnipeg. The two women getting off the stagecoach are Eleonora and Christina Sterling, who were two sisters from Scotland on their way to a trading post deep in the Canadian wilderness, Fort Chipewyan on Lake Athabasca in northeast Alberta, because Eleonora was going to meet her fiancé there and get married. So they're on their way from Scotland. They travel the ocean, and then they take the first stagecoach to the Red River, and then when they get there, they're supposed to meet the first steamboat. But the steamboat's there, but the owner of the steamboat, Anson Northrup, he says, if you want to run the steamboat, you're going to have to buy her. Well, they weren't prepared for that, so they had to build a raft. And they spent the next 22 days taking a raft down the Red River, so going north to what's today Winnipeg. And then once they're in Winnipeg, they sail another 300 miles to the tip of Lake Winnipeg, and then they take the last 800 miles in a birch bark canoe. So altogether, it was a 6,000-mile journey for love. Another one of the characters in this painting is in the lower left-hand corner, the man sitting on a bench with a book in his hand. That's George Northrup, who is one of our fascinating, interesting, kind of swashbuckling characters of the early Red River frontier days. Once the steamboat refuses them service, he's the guy that agrees to guide the sisters on the raft those 22 days up to Fort Garry. His friend Adam Stein said he could talk Greek and Latin as fast as he could talk English, and he learned to talk the Sioux language well. So he was one of these kind of like a learned scout, and so that's why Orabel paints him with a book in his hand. Every detail of this painting was painstakingly researched. The original buildings don't exist anymore, but the background of this painting, Orabel used a sketch by Manton Marble, who was a Harper's Monthly Magazine reporter who visited the Red River Valley in 1859 and wrote a story about it. The scene is his sketch. Roy Johnson and Orabel Thortvedt, they communicated with each other back and forth. We have letters where they're saying maybe the Minnesota Stage Company stagecoach, the color should be a little bit more orange or something for it to be appropriate for this particular year. Doing a history painting of an important event in Red River Valley history, there's not a whole lot of those. These two people studied this story maybe more than anybody else, and this is their collaboration.
Artist Tim Ray touched many lives over the years as a professor at Minnesota State University Moorhead. He's most remembered for the critiques and guidance that he provided to students. His own practice included a mixture of abstract printmaking, papermaking, and painting. Ray lost his battle to cancer in February of 2013, but his art remains a memory of his dedicated passion.
There came a point where you could see the acceleration of his illness, but I think that he was the last person that would tell himself to stop, because this was something that he had done his entire life, and the process was really part of his nature. It was like eating a meal. He would be in the studio. He has a very particular personality. He was kind of ironic and witty. He was, I think, counted on for being honest with people. He was always really involved in the local art scene and the regional art scene, both through the Plains Art Museum and the Rourke Art Museum. What Tim was most known for was his acrylic collages. He didn't limit himself, and that was one thing that was really interesting about his work, is that he was able to not be confined by his style. He was able to explore, in some ways, this geometric feeling with this emotional tie to his past.
Well, I always say that I can't remember, not drawing and painting. When it came time to go to university, I couldn't imagine succeeding at anything except art. And that got me really into the teaching field more than anything else.
He was a teacher, so he taught basic design and color and all that sort of thing. But, people said that one of the things that they remember is the critiques, in how they would not only, do their painting, but they would have group critiques and individual critiques. He made sure that they had outside influence as well. So he would take groups to Minneapolis or other places, make sure that students got to the various shows at the galleries and museums here. If he was in town where he knew a former student was at, he would make sure that he got in touch with them, and they would go talk about art and go to museums and shows. He was, a very friendly guy, but at the same time, he had things to do. When people walked in the door, if he wasn't expecting them and if he was involved in painting, he would be pretty brusque. But if he ever had his apron on, we knew he was at work. He actually got involved in a show at the Rourke. They had his work on the walls, and then for a couple weeks, he was working in residence there, painting.
I did it, and then that was followed by maybe half a dozen other artists. I think all those exhibitions were really interesting. I'm very proud of the fact that I was the person who said to Jim, you should really go back to the idea of artists working.
It was actually called Artist at Work. And he didn't really like demonstrating because he never really got work done, but he kind of figured it out after a while, because people wanted to see him at work. And so he did, figure that out finally. But it took him, 50-some years.
You expect good technique. You expect neatness and orderliness in anything. Abstract art is an offense against neatness. The thing about technique is everybody thinks that what the technique is trying to match the marks on the canvas to something out in reality. Like, did you try to make this look like a duck or a naked lady or a still life? The abstract artists can say, I'm really not trying to do that. People who do that are a little stupid anyway, aren't they? Because you can take a picture of that. If you can get that kind of reality, you better come up with a better idea.
What's interesting about his work is that it's not immediately recognizable what it is. People, even if they don't know his history, when they look at his work, for example, this piece near Hecla, they have a feeling that it's a harbor, or just because of the color itself, they have a feeling of the ocean. It's almost like an artificial feeling to it from the eye, but then you have the forms make this almost kite-like reference. And I think that theme has been kind of played with throughout his work.
It's just, you know, me and the materials and Lady Luck. That's all there is to it. Actually, I never said that before. I think that's a good line, don't you? I'm going to use that again.
Later in his career, things became more difficult for him. We wanted to help him through this time, but also celebrate his life simultaneously. So there were many mixes of emotions. With the retrospective too, the retrospective, which we combined with the North Dakota Museum of Art, the sense of urgency was there, and unfortunately with this illness, it accelerated at a pace that was hard for Tim to keep up with.
The last 2 weeks of his life, he was really failing. You know, so people just stepped in and did it. It's really pretty sweet.
We had been working so hard to produce this retrospective, and it was Tim's intention to be there for that.
He died February 9th, and then the show opened the 17th.
We had people coming from all over the country. Not everyone made the opening, but throughout that month we had former students and former colleagues or whatever it was that I don't know if Tim even realized that he had touched them in a way that he did, and his style had such an effect on what they produced or how they lived.
As we travel around North America, gathering materials for our documentaries, we often come across special people and places that we'd like to share with you.
In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we met with Ron Bariff, the Director of Historic Resources and Facilities from the Rivers of Steel National Heritage Area.
This is the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, really. I mean, this region fueled it. This region built the machinery that became all those mills and all the infrastructure of this country. You don't have America's 20th century. You don't have the Industrial Revolution in this country without Pittsburgh. Rivers of Steel is a national heritage area. We were mandated by the Congress of the United States and also by the state of Pennsylvania as an umbrella organization to oversee the cultural and industrial heritage of this region. The building we're currently in is the Blowing Engine House. The Blowing Engine House is at one time it was the lungs of the blast furnace. So in this building would have been giant air compressors which were powered by gas or steam that provided air to the hot stoves of the furnace, which would be superheated up to 1800 degrees, and that air would then be pushed into the blast furnace for the smelting process. This is where that power is coming from. This is where the blast in the blast furnace is made. The fuel for all of this industry, up and down these rivers, for the blast furnaces and for the steel plants, oftentimes is coke. Coke is coal that's been processed. The machinery behind me, this is the 48-inch universal plate mill, which was originally built for the Homestead Works. And it was in place from 1898 until 1979. Plate from this mill became part of the Empire State Building, went into Panama Canal locks, numerous battleships and structures all over this country. Prior to the Bessemer, steel's being made. They've been making steel for thousands of years, but you're making it by the pound. And it was a very slow, laborious process that required a high amount of skill. It's not economical. I mean, it's not ideal. You can't make it in such volume as to be able to build buildings from it. Folks like Andrew Carnegie and Henry Clay Frick and Henry Oliver, they're all based here. Their capital is based here. The capital and the vision. He really establishes that system that's put in place, that system of steel making, the hard driving steel making, that creates the Carnegie Empire. By the late 1880s, he brings in Henry Clay Frick as president of Carnegie Steel. Frick was that yang to Carnegie's yin. Carnegie wanted to be the friend of the workers, at least in a public face. Frick didn't care. He's not a likable character. He's as tough as they come. And he was capitalist through and through. It did not believe in the rights of the workers. working in labor unions. He was notorious for busting the unions in the coal fields. The climate really does change within Carnegie Steel. And it was a very open point of, we are going to eradicate all the unions within our company. And it obviously culminates in 1892 in Homestead. In Homestead, Carnegie acquires the plant in 1883. And he's able to acquire the plant because there's labor trouble. The Amalgamated Association of Iron and Steel Workers holds sway over Homestead. They were not only involved in the building of the plant, but the same people who are running the union are also building the town of Homestead. And their feeling was that we have as much of a stake in this mill as you do as the owner. You're providing the capital, we're providing the work, we're providing the know-how. June 30th, 1892, the last agreement between the Amalgamated and the company is set to expire. And the line's drawn in the sand. We're going to eradicate the union right then and there. Carnegie fully supports this. June 30th, Frick locks all the workers out. The union then declares a strike. Frick orders 300 Pinkerton men to be brought into Homestead to not attack the steel workers, but to seal off the mill so that they can start bringing in scab workers. He was not going to allow that mill to stand idle for very long. Within the next week, 8,000 militiamen arrive in town, the Pennsylvania militia, and seal the town off. And the town's essentially under martial law for the remainder of the summer. They start bringing scab workers in, black sheep as they're called, and get the mill up and running again. By fall, it's apparent that the workers cannot win this battle. And the majority of the workers ask out of their strike pledge. A number of them return to work under those conditions that were laid out by Carnegie Steel. Disavow the union, you work for the sliding scale, and you work the hours that you're told. Without those brave souls that came here and gave everything they had, we wouldn't be who we are. You and I wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't be having this discussion. You know, and it's important to remember that.
Ryan Kaplan and Hicktown from Belcourt, North Dakota, perform both original music and popular favorites. The Métis-influenced fiddle music is a true testament to the band's heritage.
Her daddy gave her first pony, taught her to ride. She climbed high in that saddle, fell I don't know how many times. Taught her a lesson that she learned, maybe a little too well. Cowgirls don't cry. Ride, baby, ride. Lessons in life are gonna show you in time. Too soon, gonna let you know why. It's gonna hurt every now and then. If you fall, get back on again. Cowgirl, don't cry. She grew up, she got married, never was quite right. She wanted a house, a home, and babies. He started coming home late at night. She didn't let him see her break her heart. She didn't let him see her fall apart. Cowgirls don't cry. Ride, baby, ride. Lessons in life we're gonna show you in time. Too soon, gonna let you know why. It's gonna hurt every now and then. If you fall, get back on again. Cowgirl, don't cry. Phone rings early one morning. Her mama's voice, she'd been crying. So it's your daddy, you need to come home. This is it, I think he's dying. She put the phone down by his head. Last words that he said, cowgirls don't cry. Right, baby, right. Lessons in life we're gonna show you in time. Too soon, gonna let you know why. If you fall, get right back on. Good Lord calls everybody home. Cowgirl, don't cry. That's so swift, the rain won't lift, the gates won't close, the railings froze. Now get your mind up winter time, 'cause you ain't going nowhere. Away, you ride me high, tomorrow the day my bride's gonna come. Oh Lord, are we gonna fly down in an easy chair? Buy me a flute and a gun that shoots, tailgates and substitutes. Well, strap yourself to a tree with roots, 'cause you ain't going nowhere. Away, you ride me high, tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh Lord, are we gonna fly down in an easy chair? Genghis Khan, he could not keep all his men supplied to sleep. We'll climb that hill no matter how steep when we get up to it. Away, you ride me high, tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh Lord, are we gonna fly down in an easy chair? Ooh-wee, you ride me high, tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh Lord, are we gonna fly down in an easy chair?
If you know of an artist, a topic, or organization in our region that you think might make for an interesting segment, please contact us at prairiemosaic@prairiepublic.org. I'm Bob Dambach.
And I'm Barb Gravel. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Prairie Mosaic.
Prairie Mosaic is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, the North Dakota Council on the Arts, and by the members of Prairie Public.